we noticed like his game style was changing a little bit, and he was like doing a little bit of entry. He was doing a little bit of this, a little bit of secondary orb, a little bit of a little bit of few different things we probably hadn't seen from him previously, and we just thought his skill was just too immense to deny. Um, may not have fit role wise at the time, and it still doesn't really fit perfectly. But and he's ended up playing a lot of weird positions and roles. Uh, he was just undeniable to at least give him a chance. Like, what more could the guy do? He had like a 1.4 rating or something in AU. I mean, it's AU, but he was just undeniable.
And we've got another guest this week. We had such a good time last week with Nick. We brought in Gomez. Now, you don't know Gomez. He's the manager of 100 Thieves, and go all the way back to when they were Vox. Were you involved with the team? Like, was that even a thing before, like Vox, or what was like the start for you? Got involved with that team.
With Vox, it was probably like a couple of months after the game came out. At the very, very beginning, I was actually doing stuff with Archaic, and I switched from Archaic to Vox.
Fair enough. Okay, well, that is Gomez. He's obviously kind of a big deal, bigger than any of us. Obviously, we've got Pilsky, we've got Bleh coming back as our experts on the Asia region. Anyways, what we're talking about today, because there's a lot of it, we're going to dive straight into it. We've got the Tyloo changes, which came out in the last week. You've got the information now that coaches are available in Road to Rio as well. We want to talk about Road to Rio a little bit as well in relation to Asia and ANZ. And then we've also got the chat shit segment, which this probably just be throwing random questions. We think that's going to be pretty interesting. Anyway, let's dive into these Tyloo changes to start things off. Now, most of you guys should have heard that Tyloo have made the changes to move Freeman and Zeta. And the reason for that is because of the whole coronavirus situation. Both of those players returned home to Hong Kong and Korea, respectively, I imagine. And obviously now they can't get back to China, so they can't be in the same place as the rest of the players. I don't know whether that was exactly the reason why, but they have made these changes. Brought in Dan King and Slowly. And Blair, I know you in particular have had some choice words to say in the past about Dan King in particular. So this seems like a pretty surprising move to bring Dan King back into the Tyloo roster, doesn't it?
I find it surprising that, considering there are no LAN events lined up for at least the next 2 or 3 months, that they couldn't continue playing online with Freeman and with Zine. It just makes no sense to me,
Zeta.
right? I mean, it's Zeta. Sorry, it's all confusing for me. South Korean players and Chinese teams, all the same to me. It doesn't really matter who it is. But I find it interesting how they removed them, even though it's temporarily. It doesn't make sense to me. They're not going for a LAN event in China or anything like that, and they don't need to necessarily be boot camping at the same place. I mean, I don't think that's a necessary a requirement for them to be participating in these events. And on top of that, you spend like 2 or 3 months, close to 3 months if I'm not wrong, in EU, just boot camping and playing Pro League. Sure, you had a rough time in Pro League, but at least you would have gleaned something from it. You might have learned a little bit. And them kind of benching as 2 players, removing them temporarily, whatever, just makes no sense. Now, coming to Dan King, he had been picked up by Tyloo for their Tyloo youth team or whatever a while back, which is surprising for me. And they also said how he was just not ready for the pro scene. I'm not going to really get into details as to what all was said there because it was mentioned in confidence, but it is surprising for me. At the same time, I'm like, hey, it's a full Chinese squad for a change, right? I mean, look at a place on Tyloo. These guys can pop off, and at least domestically they can pretty much stomp almost everyone apart from Vici. So maybe this could be some good signs coming out of this.
Maybe, and we really wanted to do what we did for the last episode, which was obviously that SEA or English-speaking, the perfect English-speaking Asian Counter-Strike team. We wanted to do that for this episode as well because of these changes and talk about it on the Chinese side of things, make the Chinese team. But we don't really have enough time. There's too much in this episode. So that's probably going to come up in the next episode. But obviously, with this Tyloo change, it seems a little bit strange, right? That they've gone and done all this. They've worked pretty hard with Freeman and Zeta, and now they've sort of reverted back to the full Chinese team. I mean, Pili, Blair was kind of touching on it there, that they've essentially put all this time into this roster and now gone straight back to square one. Right before Road to Rio starts, it seems like a pretty bad time to be making these changes.
Yeah, it does. Honestly, I like it. I like the idea of them going towards a fully Chinese roster. I'm sick of hearing about Tyloo having communication issues and stuff like that, holding them back from their full level. But at the same time, the sentiment that they're going to potentially reintroduce those players at some point, it doesn't make any sense. So like it's almost like I want to be happy with it, but I know that there's some bullshit going on. So it's like you don't even like
Yeah.
know whether it's like a genuine commitment by the team or the organization to actually go towards a fully Chinese roster, or whether it's just sort of a victim of circumstance kind of thing, where they do that. But at the same time, we mentioned that it's online games. So what's the thing that's potentially holding them back from having a Korean player and a player from Hong Kong playing those online games, just like anybody else is playing online in Asia? There's people who have even worse ping disadvantages than that and still just get on with things. So yeah, that's an interesting question in itself. I don't mind the players that they picked up. I think they're pretty decent choices considering the circumstances. You'd have to go towards the E-home team, or you'd have to go towards Invictus or something like that if you're going to be picking up players, unless you're going to try and like pull some crazy move and pick up
Bring
some
Captain
Vichy
Mo
players
back.
or something. Yeah, I mean, I don't think they've shown anything good enough in 1-3 to really justify bringing back some of those older players. So I think that pretty much speaks for itself when these E-home players have been playing well enough to prove that they can hang at least in the level that Tyloo's going to be playing at in the next little while. So I'm keen to see how it goes, but I'm cautiously optimistic because I feel like like I said, the sentiment that they might be bringing these players back in the future doesn't really sit well with me.
Okay, Gomez, let's get you involved in the conversation here because you're obviously someone who is currently working with a team. You're with 100 Thieves. So from a team's perspective, what does this mean for them? Like making changes right now, let's say it's probably, 2 weeks before the Road to Rio starts for Asia. They've got about 2 weeks to get these guys integrated into the roster. How does that look for Tyloo? And do you see this as a good move? Like, is this in your mind making Tyloo more of a threat for someone like, let's say, 100 Thieves, who may in the future have to play in an Asian minor sometime down the track? Or do you think that previous roster was kind of looking pretty good?
I think the biggest problem I see with Tyloo up until now was Bntet. Like, I think it was a bit of a curse. Like, he is so good, you don't want to let him go. But I feel like the communication just doesn't work. Like, I was hoping they'd make this change for a while now. I still think that original Tyloo team, Captain Mo, DD, somebody who was at Summer, and
Attacker.
the one that used to beat us all the time. I used to think that was the most dangerous one. Even though the other one probably had just as much success or even more success internationally, I still think that original Chinese one where they all played together and had really sick teamwork and stuff like that was way more deadly going forward in the long term, I thought, than the one where it was just like big, heavy hitters. So I like the change. I don't know anything about these players. I don't know anything. I saw a couple of Reddit threads about the Dan King guy, like an Overpass pug or something. He didn't want to leave. I think that's all. That's all I saw. And the other guy, I don't even know who that is. But if I speak Chinese, then I'm all for it. And then the second question about the timing, 2 weeks is probably a week too small. I'd like to see maybe 3 weeks or 4. 3 or 4, I think would be optimal. 2, I think is cutting it a little fine. We haven't played that much in China, but when we were there, it was pretty hard to get practice. There wasn't a lot of high quality teams and stuff like that. So you can't get as much done in a day than you can in Europe or NA. So I think I would like to be maybe a little bit longer, maybe like 3 weeks, 4 weeks. But I think they'll do all right.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, especially when you look at the way that the Asian scene sort of is right now with, like, obviously MVP's not there anymore, so that was like one of the other top teams that they could have potentially scrimmed. Now I really look at it and I say, okay, Vichy might be the only team that's kind of on that same level that they could potentially scrim and try to get that good match practice for. Bleh, again, I'll throw this one back to you because you talked quite positively about Tyloo some of our previous episodes. When we were ranking what we thought was going to happen at the minor, for example, you sort of put Tyloo up towards the top end of things, certainly a lot higher than what Pili and I did. But now with these changes, do you still see them as a contender within, like, the Road to Rio now, for example?
I I think, yeah, I still think they can do damage domestically, but obviously not internationally, right? The reason I was being a little optimistic was because while Vici are, at least based on recent results and on paper, the better looking team, because, you know, they have admin, they have an actual in-game leader, which really goes in their favor. Being 2 or 3 months in Europe, playing against some of literally the best of the best, will not make you worse. You can't get worse than that. They do have the firepower, and I was hoping that, you know, if they put in the time with Zeta in the lineup, they could maybe make something click, and that could, you know, overall be a net positive for them coming in from EU. But now, with this all Chinese lineup, I don't know. I agree. I agree with Gomez that you do need a little bit more time to really gel as a team. But I'm also worried for their opponents that, you know, you still have Summer, Attacker, and somebody, right? And then the language barrier goes for a toss, and they could literally just go full pug mode. And I still think they're going to be feeling very comfortable, and especially against teams like against a team like Vici, who rely on set strats and being, you know, and counter stratting stuff and following a certain game plan. That could be something that Vici does struggle against. Bear in mind, Vici started beating Tyloo, at least domestically, once Tyloo started trying to play more structured Counter Strike, if that makes sense. But earlier on, it was Tyloo just you know, just pugging against most of these teams in China, just completely stomping them. So we might be seeing them playing a much more free approach, a more of, you know, loosey goosey approach to these teams in the road to Rio. And I still think it might work. I just feel like individually they are just better players than almost anyone in China right now. Vici being the only potential threat to these guys.
Yeah, I know, Billy, you've kind of got your finger on the pulse when it comes to up and comers with Asian region. I mean, I went and looked at some of the stats on HLTV before this episode. I was thinking about what players I would actually put in my perfect Chinese roster, which again we will talk about a little bit more in depth in another episode. But Danking seems like the only AWPer actually that is in China of any relevancy. Like, that's a Chinese player.
Look, it's not just Danking. Even slowly, like, these are good players to be picking up in this environment, because if you go and look at the stats, like, these guys, let's say Vici is the main threat for this team, for Tyloo to contend for the top spot. Both of these players have played Vici like a couple of times and actually put up good numbers, both of them, in this online environment. They've taken that eHome team has taken a map off Vici. They pushed Tyloo close, the team that they played for. So we know that they can actually put up numbers online when they're comfortable and in their own system. So individually, like in terms of the skill, you know, obviously they're playing in a team that's not expected to win, so that's going to take a little bit more pressure off of you. But if Tyloo can actually, you know, put some sort of team together in a couple of weeks that makes sense and actually enable these players to play pretty well and not let the pressure get to them and stuff like that, then I could see a world where this Tyloo team, at least in the online sort of, you know, Asian scene, can probably take out a Vici or can take out most of these teams. You know, they could be the top team if this team actually works out. The question is, you know, how capable of are the, you know, existing Tyloo players, the 3 that they had, of integrating 2 new players into their roster and working out a good system, and also how a lot of the time you'll see, you know, players from these second-rate teams in some of the regions come into a better team, and I'd say more often than not, initially they kind of suck. Sometimes they really, you know, pop off and they do really well, but you know, if you come from that secondary team, a lot of the time, it can take a little while for you to get going. So the question is, you know, in the turnaround period that they have, are they going to be able to manage all of these intangible factors? Because, you know, if you look at the numbers, these are players that are capable of actually fitting into this team in the circumstances that they'll have to play and be able to perform.
Yeah, so a lot of sort of variables that we have to kind of wait and see as to whether or not Tyloo's going to be a better team or a worse team. I really wonder what does happen, though, if Tyloo, as a roster, this new roster goes really, really well, you know, everything seems to be clicking. What then happens for Zeta and Freeman? Are they just sort of in the bin? Are they out of there? Even though they've already said, like, yeah, the intent is to bring them back. But I sort of see Tyloo as quite a cutthroat organization and quite a cutthroat roster, in that if things are going better, like, they're going to say, fuck it, we'll keep these guys and Zeta and Freeman be damned, essentially. We'll see how that all turns out. I guess that's a story that we're going to have to keep an eye on, and we'll probably continue to talk about in future episodes. But I want to move on to the next little discussion we're going to have here. And this one is around coaches in Road to Rio. And presumably, if this goes well, right, this would be something that seems like it might occur further on in the future as well for other tournaments. I don't know yet, but it's maybe like a test run or something like that. So I'm going to throw this one at you, Gomez, again. You obviously have been around Counter-Strike for quite a while, so you would have been involved with, I don't know, was it Renegades at the time, probably, when like that whole 6-man core era kind of happened, right? Where everyone had a coach, everyone had a coach in a server. I want to get your take on this. Like, do you think this is a good move just in general, not specifically anything to do with your team or within the Asian scene or anything like that, but is having that 6-man, that coach being able to be in the server and talk to the players while the game is happening, good move in your eyes?
No, I actually hate the idea. I like the timeouts. I like it where the coach comes in, he has his impact, and lets the players do the thing. I just think the game on a greater level, if you take away the highest tier players, not responsible for calling or doing any strategy or stuff, everyone following through, like how do you teach those players? Like, no tier 2, tier 3 Oceanic Asian roster can afford a coach. Only the top teams have a coach in the region. Like, what is tier 2 supposed to do? They can't get a coach. Tier 3 definitely can't get a coach. Players are never going to learn those skills. There's only so many coaches to go around. And, as the top tier players drop off, they can't become coaches if they had this system because they never learned the ability either. So I just think eventually, like, it would just kill the game. Like, I don't like it at all. As for what you're saying, like, is this new? This has always been the system, for at least the last 6 years, for any online tournament in NAEU, always like this. Every single pro league up until last year when they switched it to LAN had these exact rules. The EPL we played last month, which was because of Corona, also had these rules. Like, online has always been a free for all for coaches. I'm not sure if people realize that or not, but nothing's changed for EU and NA. Online is always just being the coach speaks as much as he wants.
I guess from an outsider's perspective, not being involved in a team, you don't really think about whether the coach is there in the online server or not. We'll recognize that, okay, X has joined the server, like we're watching it, right? When we're casting, we see the warm-up, we see someone join and we're like, okay, the coach is in the server, but I don't know that you necessarily think about the implications of that. And the fact that when teams are playing online, there isn't really any way to police whether or not the coach is talking to the team during the game or not. The only way to do that online. So it does seem kind of strange. Again, I'm going to give this one to you, Gomez, to have in the past, have that discrepancy between LAN and where the coach is only able to talk during the timeouts, and then online where theoretically they can do what they want.
Yeah, there's a little bit of like a mismatch in like synchronization as well. Like, you're used to the coach calling timeouts, and you may not even need a timeout for strategy reasons. It may just be to change the momentum. But then when you're online, the coach can talk the whole time. You'll see these online games; they can go a whole match, and there's no pauses. Like, at most, there's like 1 or 2 pauses. Like, if the coach is talking the whole time, there's literally no stopping. Like, they just go start to finish. So, and in that sense, it's weird. Like, I think for the players, hearing an extra voice the whole time, all the way through. I think Aaron mentioned it. It's a bit weird for him as well when we were talking about it the other day. It's different. Like, we haven't played online CS for over a year, so we're still really new at it. And we still think it's a little bit weird, like, having this sort of stuff. With regards to policing it, there's so many ways to get around it. Like, at first they were like, oh, you can join, in ESL or Valve TeamSpeak, and I'll have an admin in the chat. And then it's like, well, you can just have 2 TeamSpeak open, we could have Discord open. Oh, okay. And that's like, well, how can you fix it? And the only thing they could come up with, or that I could come up with, the only way they could sort of confirm that the coach is not cheating is if the coach does like a video call, like a WhatsApp or Discord, and that you can actually see his mouth. And then you sync it up with the TeamSpeak, to see if his mouth is moving when the TeamSpeak can't hear him. That's the only way I could think of to prove the coach isn't cheating. Like,
just wire his
that,
jaw up to like a relay or something, and every time he moves it triggers something, and there's a buzz in the Valve office, and someone gets up and gets on the phone.
That's the only way I could think of doing it is a webcam aimed at the coach, looking at his mouth, and then the admin's in the TeamSpeak, and he would see, like, his mouth is moving and there's nothing happening in TeamSpeak, obviously, so therefore he's cheating, and that's never going to happen. Like, no one's going to do that. So in the end, they just bend the rule, I guess.
And that kind of goes back to all those female tournaments that the players had to basically record themselves playing the game. so that it wasn't
Yeah.
someone that was potentially playing on their account or something like that. Which,
Yeah, exactly.
again, it's just like, I mean, I kind of get it, but also like at a certain point, you have to have that level of trust, I suppose, as well. Either way, we haven't heard much from you, Pili and Bleh, in relation to this. So, what's your thoughts on the coaching thing in general? Like, do you have a contradicting opinion to Gomez? Are you a fan, or is it more of a negative in your mind?
I feel I agree. I agree with Gomez. I 100% agree with Gomez when it comes to, like, it does prevent the growth of future coaches, future in-game leaders. I think it's a very important aspect of the game. But also, I remember when the initial coaching rules came in from Valve like a few years back. I wasn't really a big fan of it at that time, because for me, I still feel like having a coach calling in the server like all the time. We could debate this forever, to be very honest. But yeah, having that the coach calling for the players, that means overall you're going to be technically seeing a higher level of Counter Strike. You're going to have like 5 fraggers in that server. You're going to have the in-game leader / coach outside. So I mean, theoretically, you're going to be seeing a higher level of Counter Strike being played. So I remember I even said in like a couple of shows, and I even tweeted out saying this is actually going to lower the overall level of CS. Now, that being said, I completely agree with Chris that it's unfair for a lot of the tier 2, tier 3 teams who can't afford a coach or who cannot get their hands on a coach. It's very hard as it is, even as a tier 1 team, to really get your hands on a half decent coach, right? So yeah, I mean, I think there are pros and cons to both. When it comes to the Road to Rio thing, listen, it was going to be impossible. Like Chris said, it's going to be impossible to really monitor what's going on. So I think it was kind of stupid to even have that voting thing going on. Even if that one team vetoed the entire vote and said, no, we don't want coaches, how the fuck are you going to enforce that, right? It's not going to work out. So it is what it is. But I've always had a bone to pick with Valve's opinion of trying to make professional Counter-Strike exactly the same as matchmaking. I think that's one thing they've used a couple of times, right? Where they're like, oh, we want to enable even just like a 5-player matchmaking team to play the same way as a professional team would, the way they're playing for the majors. And I think that's not ideal. I don't think that's ever going to be the way that I would see Counter-Strike as. And I think a lot of these conflicting issues and whatnot which arise when it comes to coaching and whatnot comes down to the fact that Valve, for some reason, wants it to be like, oh, you have 5 guys playing matchmaking. That's exactly the way it's going to be for a major grand final. No, it's not. It's never going to work that way. And I still fail to see why they keep trying to push this particular agenda of theirs.
Okay, so this one's for you then, Pili. And you can give us your opinion on what you think about the coaching situation as well. But do you think this really makes much of a difference to Asia and ANZ particularly? Or is there just not enough wealth of coaching talent within both of those regions for this to really matter?
Here's the thing, right? Like, I look at it from a pretty realistic standpoint. It's absolutely right. Like, there's no way to police having a coach being able to talk all the time, and it's commonplace. It happens nonstop, especially at the lower levels. In like niche circumstances, it can be something that helps in certain ways. Like Blair mentioned, having people being able to have their attention span on the game rather than focusing on overall things. I think for certain teams, if you don't have like a strong in-game leader or something like that, you can help them. But when you're talking about like the best teams in the region, in theory, it shouldn't really be as big of a deal, because I feel like you only have so much time to like communicate anyway. It's a 2-minute round with the freeze time. Like, it's a lot of the time detrimental to make communication more messy in many circumstances for a team. And communication needs to be clear, it needs to be concise, and the second that it starts getting clustered, the second that you start to get too many cooks in the kitchen in a team, it's going to be detrimental to your team's performance in CS, and that's how it's always been.
Okay, so seems like we're still kind of up in the air as to whether or not this is going to end up making much of those, but for now, I suppose we just have to wait and see how things go in Rio quals or Road to Rio or whatever. But one of the major aspects of this that I wanted to talk about a little bit was, obviously we've got the news now that Renegades now have managed to find themselves another, which is pretty interesting, because what I know from them, and having been to events that they've been quite a few times, they've kind of gone through quite a cycle of coaches. They've had quite a few rotating around, and I'm talking over the course of a year and a half, 2 years sort of. They've never really been able to settle on one. Like, they had Neil M for a while, and that seemed to be going okay. but he's obviously no longer a part of the picture. They picked up Mitha, who, as I understand, was the coach for North in 2019. So that seems like a pretty good idea. You know, they've been able to get a coach for themselves who's got experience at the top level of Counter-Strike, particularly in Europe. So should be a nice person for someone like Dexter in particular to kind of bounce off. But Gomez, I want to throw this one to you because, again, you know, we sort of see this as something that's very similar in a way almost to what happened with your team when they were Renegades, you know, when you guys picked up Kassad. And do you want to talk us through maybe how that sort of impacted the team, helped the team, or and then following that as well, how do you think that's going to sort of impact this now current Renegades role? Or you think this is going to be able to push to the next level, similar to what, for example, you know, you guys were able to?
Yeah. Okay. So,
A few questions in
picking a
there.
coaches picking a coach is actually really hard. A person doesn't have to be better than you in the game. Like people like think, you know, oh, you know, how can you listen to someone who can't aim and shoot, you know, as good as you? As you know, obviously that's not true. Like the person doesn't have to be better than you, but the in-game leader still has to respect the coach's opinions to listen to what he's actually saying. And I feel like you need some sort of track record to do that. I think there's only a very few people I can think of that literally can join tier 1 CS with no history of results behind them. Without grinding, you know, all the way through analyst, assistant coach, coach of a tier 2, coach of a tier 1, you know. It's really hard to pick a coach that's available, that's good enough that you respect their opinions and listen to. And then in Oceanic, like salary probably isn't the greatest. Like there's probably offers from tier 2 European teams that would probably pay more. The time zone would be better for those people. The travel would be better. The culture would be better. Like it's so hard to get a coach in the Oceanic region. So I can see why it took so long. It's just really hard.
Okay, but looking at this Renegades roster, from what I saw from, you know, the moves that they were making prior to the coronavirus situation, it really seemed like they had the intention again of moving overseas, right? And not necessarily moving, maybe moving like as in moving where they live might be a bit too much of a stretch, but it seemed like they were definitely trying to focus more on finding opportunities internationally, making more of a, or North America or Europe or whatever, as opposed to staying domestically. Maybe that makes things a little bit easier. Bleh, you know, let's go ahead and let you have a bit of a chat here about this whole situation. Do you have any sort of a take here for whether or not Renegades are going to get much of a bonus, I suppose, from having a coach? Because I sort of feel like every time I've seen them playing with a coach, you know, they've actually looked good once that coach has kind of, but they've never been able to hang on to the coach. So is this something you see them? Obviously, it seems like every move they make seems to be a good move. So kind of give them the benefit of the doubt here, right? When they pick up a new coach, that this would not be bad of an idea, right?
Yeah, and I think it's a good time to get a coach in. I mean, they kind of have, I wouldn't say a brand new lineup, but you know, they'll let go of Dick Stacy. You know, with this new lineup, they look very promising. And I agree with you. I think, you know, for Dexter to have someone to bounce ideas off, I know he used to do that with Urkas in the past. They had Neil M, who used to coach a while back, but to be honest, like nothing against Neil, I love the guy, but you know, he's more like the motivational hype guy rather than, I feel personally, really going super in depth on how to, you know, go about it in the server, right? Which worked for them. I mean, they're a team who rides off just being, you know, really hype and having fun in the server and whatnot, all memes aside. Again, well, speaking to Neil, he did mention how, you know, he was still in EU, and then you had the team based out of Australia, and the time zones were always a problem. He wasn't there with them at the boot camp and whatnot. So I think that will still present a problem for Mythar. I think he's definitely very competent. I mean, all memes aside, you know, North, they are a legit team. Yeah, they haven't really reached the levels that we would expect of them, looking at the lineups they've had, and also the players they have. But you know, he does seem to know what he's doing. So I definitely feel he will have a net positive impact. How long that lasts, I don't know. I guess Chris could answer this better, but you know, having being a very essential part of the team and not being with the team for a prolonged period of time, just making it online, it's really hard to make it click. You know, yeah, you stop feeling that invested. It's almost like you're working from home all the time while everyone else are at the office and whatnot. So for the time being, with the COVID situation, I feel it could work out for a while. But let's say they start, getting more success and they look good. And bear in mind, they're in Australia right now, right? So they're still going to be playing the local stuff. And once it becomes a proper thing, when they have to travel around the world, when they have to have like long boot camps back home, whatever, is Mythar going to be with them, or is it going to be based out of EU, which was the case most of the times with Neil? If that's going to be the case, I don't see this really lasting that long. Yes, they will get something good out of it, like you said, Jordan, but that sustainability, I think that's the main problem for them. I guess it could be fixed if they do move out of ANZ, but are they going to do that? I don't know.
You have a take here, Gomez? Like, is it possible to make it work online?
The thing that sucks and goes against them is it's a 6-1 split, which is the issues we've had in the past, like when we all lived in Detroit and NAF was still in Canada. And when it's just one person not there, it sucks so much. Like when everyone's online, it's not so bad. You get used to using online tools and, TeamSpeak or whatever, or, Google Docs and Google Sheets and stuff. When you got 6 people there and you literally like think of something and you can just go into the living room and go, hey guys, I want to talk about this. And or you want to have a meeting about, something, maybe not even CS related, maybe it's sponsor related or, a contract decision or anything. Like when there's 6 people there and she's like, yeah, this is doing in person. And it's like, oh, wait, there's one guy you have to get on the phone and you have to get WhatsApp out and then you have to put him on speaker. And he feels like it's so annoying. Like, yeah, 6-1 split, in my opinion, is the absolute worst. We've done it a few times. And yeah, I hate it. I hate it so much. I wish we were all just online at that point, like, you just forget also about the last guy, someone cancels a scrim and you call it out like, hey, they canceled, we're not going to play, let's go eat now. And then the guy's still on TeamSpeak wondering what the hell's going on because everyone's just got up and left their PCs. There's no idea. Like, you just forget to tell the people all this kind of information and stuff. It just sucks.
I think it kind of goes to show, right? Like how long it took us to set this up, even just to start this podcast. Sitting in Skype and Discord for like 30 minutes before we even actually started recording. So it's like that, right? Where everyone's all over the place. Everyone has their own things that they need to be doing, and it's hard to kind of get it all aligned. As opposed to when everyone's there, you just be like, not only that, but also maybe the culture aspect. Again, I've never really been a part of a team in Counter-Strike or anything like that, but I'd imagine, guys, they're all going out for dinner. You're getting used to each other, you're becoming friends. But then there's that one guy who's on the other side of the world that doesn't really feel like is part of the team, quote unquote, even though obviously they are part of the team. Anyway, Pili, you've been a little bit quiet here, so I want to do the last hurrah when it comes to this Greyhound. There we go again, Greyhound. This Renegades coaching discussion, right? Do you have anything to really add here, or is everything pretty much?
Look, it's just speculation, but the way that I read the article is that it says Mythar is going to coach for one competition. So
Right.
The way that I see it is that on top of what everyone said, that it's not a sustainable relationship, most likely, based on Gomez's opinion and based on how we've seen things go for their previous coach and based on other teams that we know of that have people living in different locations or some people not participating in a team house or something like that. The way that I see it and the way that I hope that Renegades sort of approaches it is that he's basically like a consultant. You bring him in for a certain period of time, see how it goes, see if he brings any good ideas to the table and stuff like that. And if you like him, you keep him on for a little bit longer. If you don't like him, maybe you learn a couple things or two in the short term, and then you continue on your way and you look for something else. I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
Okay, so there was something that we were going to talk about in the next. But I actually want to tie it in here because we're talking about Renegades quite a lot, and so this one's for you, Gomez. Again, this is a question that ties in again with like your experience coming from Vox to Renegades to 100 Thieves and how that team progressed. Is there anything really in your mind that the current Renegades roster needs to kind of follow in those footsteps to finally be able to really challenge and really compete at an international tournament? Because like it's fair to say like they have their moments, right? They're able to kind of get a map here or there, but you never really get the sense that they're being able to compete strongly, which is kind of what happened with Vox, right? At the start, you guys went, you got your experience, blah, blah, blah. Eventually, you started to become a real competitor on the global stage and even now a top 10 team in the world. So what kind of does it take for a team to go from where Vox was when Vox first started going internationally, and that's very similar to, I'd say, now where Renegades currently is. Maybe they're a little bit past that, but either way, what does it take for them to sort of make these steps, and what are the steps?
The thing that sucks, I think, for them at the moment is the Oceanic region is like a really good spot to be in if you want to play in the best tournaments. I don't think there's many tier 1 events you literally can't have at least a path to. You know, like they invites now to all the IEMs, ESLs, DreamHack Masters, like maybe not all the DreamHack Masters, but there's usually a path, you know, to play a lot of tier 1 tournaments. When we were in Vox, there wasn't that path. You know, there'd just be slots for EU and then NA, and you just get unlucky. You know, one major Oz had a spot, and then the next major was South Africa. You know, they just didn't even give us a spot; they just gave it to South Africa. You know, they're like, "Oh, we'll just pass it around." You know, like, so like it's hard for them to give up, in my opinion, missing tier 1 tournaments, because I think if they went to another region like EU and NA, it would take a little while for them to sort of, you know, take it up a notch to claim those spots. You know, if you come to NA, then you're sort of battling for, you know, teams around the level of like, you know, Cloud9, Swole Patrol, you know, Gen G, like some of these new, you know, Flashpoint teams, you know, even MIBR Furia and stuff who aren't even getting the direct invites anymore as much. You know, there's a lot of competition for those spots.
Mm.
Whereas you can stay in Oceanic and just claim them all. So it's like really just depends if you want to be, or is your goal to play all the big events? You know, your goal is to play the big events, and you should just stay in Australia. To be honest, I think you get way more opportunities there. Like Tyloo is another example in Asia. They play a lot of Tyloo and Vici combined. Like that one Asian spot, they get a spot for everything pretty much. Like, why would you go anywhere else?
Yeah, it used
Free
to be
spot.
Tyloo, Vici, and MVP, and now it really just feels like it's Tyloo and Vici.
In
Kind
Australia,
of a
it's pretty much
two-horse
the
race.
same.
Well,
Yeah.
Australia, if Renegades are playing in the tournament, it's a one-horse race, as far as most people order
Yeah, so,
advantage.
like, you have to give up those spots.
I have a question for Chris
Yeah.
though. Like Chris, imagine a world where, like a few years back, right before Vox and Renegades, before they moved out to NA, and for whatever reasons you gave, like very legit, Australia was getting fucked many times over. Like you'd have one slot for Asia and Oceania, and the servers would probably be in somewhere like Singapore or something ridiculous, right? So Australia basically got cut. Imagine a world where Australia had like a dedicated slot, and obviously the old Vox Renegades squad were the best team from the region, so it's guaranteed spots for all the international events. But then again, you would still be stuck in an area where I remember Chad mentioning this a long time ago, how there was no competition. They were getting started. I think it was just the immunity and the Vox guys who could practice against each other, right? But if you were to make a decision to move out and go to and live in NA, which you guys are doing now and which you guys have been doing for a while, but at the same time you'd have to give up all those free spots at international events, all the international events, which one would you have opted for?
Yeah, it's tough. Like I said, it really comes down to what your goal is for playing this. You know, do you want to just attend events, say you played on these huge stages and stuff like that, and maybe made some money, or do you want to actually just try and become the best, like literally grind it out until you're the best? You know, like if that's your goal, then I think you need to be in a different region. I just had an interesting point I was just going to bring up then. Yeah, before we signed 100 Thieves, like when we were at the end of the Renegades contracts, we actually considered coming back to Oz because we knew the Pro League was going to go to this world thing. Like we had heard, you know, quite a lot of sources suggesting that's what was going to happen the following year. We were like, well, what would we miss out on if we went back to Oz? We've got our major spots because we're the legends. Play Pro League in Oz, or if it even exists, and still go to the Pro League finals. You know, we can still make Cologne, Katowice, and DreamHack and Star Ladder. You know, they probably, and some of those tournaments that maybe don't give invites now probably would give us invites. You know, well, we wouldn't miss out on anything, and we could live at home. Then we're like, well, practice would suck. You know, eventually we would drop off, and we wouldn't get those spots anymore. And then we're like, well, maybe we could just do boot camps. You know, it was legit. It was a legit conversation we had, and in the end, like you said, well, what do you want to do from this? And we just wanted to be the best, and decided that it has to be an NA or EU, and that's the path we took.
Very interesting. Actually, I would have never thought that you would consider moving back, to be honest. How serious was that, by the way? Like, was it like a serious consideration, or?
No, like it wasn't overly serious. Like But it was there. It was definitely 1 or 2 conversations about it. The Jacob thing, complicated it a little bit, to be fair, because obviously the Oz region isn't his region.
Look, Australia
But,
is a nice place. I'm sure he would have enjoyed it.
yeah, but, like, we were like, "Well, we're not gonna miss out on anything here." Like, if we just wanna play tournaments and maybe win money, like, of a region to be in, all we have to do is beat Renegades. I'm not saying anything against them, but, you know, Renegades didn't win all the invites that year anyway. Order won a couple and, and whatever, there's a sprinkling of other teams, but if you could just clean sweep and win every single Oz event, you'd probably end up playing more tournaments than we did, or just the exact same amount. Like, we wouldn't miss out on anything.
Definitely. And that sort of ties into actually the next segment. So let's go ahead and jump into Road to Rio, and we'll focus on ANZ Asia in particular. And then we'll have a little bit of a chat about 100 Thieves as well at the end of this. But let's touch on ANZ first. Obviously, Renegades, Order, Thieves and Ground Zero are the teams that are going to play in this Road to Rio qualifier. And I actually want to, again, throw this one to you, Gomez. I know you've been basically mic hogging, but correct me if I'm wrong. 100 Thieves would have been playing in the ANZ region if you guys were not, like, in North America, right? Like, if this Coronatimes situation had you playing in ANZ, would you be playing in the ANZ qualifier?
Weird hypothetical, because we had the Legends spot. So
Yeah, so kind of
we wouldn't have played at
yeah,
all.
yeah.
But in the event that we didn't have that Legends spot, Corona didn't exist, then we would have had to have flown back to Australia. Corona, they changed the rules to say it's basically where you're living. And then the Legends thing disappeared. But we did that just before Katowice. I don't know if anyone can even remember that far back. But we were literally living in NA, we're in Renegades, and we actually had to fly 20 hours to Oz. We had to qualify over a weekend. It was a 3-day weekend. Then we had to fly straight back to continue Pro
times.
League the following day. And we had to forfeit games in Pro League because they wouldn't even reschedule an ESL event next to an ESL qualifier,
I do remember that
So-
qualifier. It seems strange, right? Like, seeing you guys back in ANZ is like, we don't get it, right? We don't ever see very much of now 100 Thieves playing against any of the domestic teams unless it's at an international tour. But it's never in like
Yeah.
a domestic qualifier or anything like that.
That one actually sucked for us as well. We didn't even have PCs. Like, we hadn't been back to Australia for like 2 years. Like, we go back on a vacation every now and again, but no one had top of the line equipment. Like, we had nothing. We had to go and buy PCs, and I think in the end we played from Gfinity.
Yeah.
Because we were lucky we had a sponsor in Alienware that did a co-share. But we were at the point where we nearly had to go buy PCs just to even play a qualifier over a weekend, just to fly back. And they didn't. The tournament doesn't pay because it's a qualifier. They don't pay for any of your flights. That was like a 20 grand experience to fly to Oz for 7 people, hotels, whatever, and then fly back for a weekend. Like, it was kind of ridiculous.
Yeah.
So we're glad we don't have to do that
Anyway,
in the near
we're
future anyway.
diving down that rabbit hole a bit. I don't know what's going on with Pili, but I'm going to throw this one to you, Bleh, because you seem to be here. What's your thoughts on the ANZ region? This is, I mean, we talked about it, right? This has to just be Renegades, like, basically curb stomping everything, right?
Yeah, if that doesn't happen, I don't even know what to say, right? I don't even think, like, Ground Zero, the 4th best team. I think looking at the recent results, I could be wrong here, but I'd see Avant win pretty convincingly against them recently. I think it was the DreamHack one. So if Renegades struggle here, it's going to be a problem, especially with Mythar coming in. The only way I see them not curb stomping everyone in that group is if Mythar just comes in and changes something, fundamentally in the Renegade side. He's like, all right, guys, I'm not going to be playing the way we've been playing for the past couple of years. It's going to be something completely different, and this is the way we're going to be doing it. I don't think he's going to do that. I don't think that's the right approach to a team, especially a team that's been the core has been together for a while. So yeah, as long as they don't fundamentally change everything, I think they're going to be fine. This should be cut and dry for Renegades. I'd be very surprised if they don't win this.
Yeah, I think that would be pretty surprising indeed. Pili, now obviously you're a big fan of the ANZ region, so you must have a lot to say here. Renegades?
Oh yeah, it's pretty straightforward. Like, we've seen them win qualifier after qualifier after qualifier, despite who they're playing. We've seen a couple teams sort of push them, maybe even take maps off of them. But when it comes down to who takes out the spot, Renegades / Greyhound have been taking them out every single time. I think the more interesting sort of talking point is the fact that GZ's managed to swindle a spot instead of Avant.
Yeah, well, you know why that happened, right?
Please explain for anyone who doesn't understand.
Okay, yeah. For anyone who potentially doesn't understand why that happened, who definitely isn't one of our well-researched Asian analysts,
No, definitely not.
the reason for that was because obviously in the minor qualifier, Ground Zero actually outplaced Avant.
Yeah.
Now, you can talk about how the bracket was scuffed, and it was scuffed, which forced, I think, Avant then had to play Chiefs down in the lower bracket earlier than they probably would have thought they would, and Ground Zero played Rooster, I think, got past Rooster. But either way, Ground Zero technically outplaced Avant, and that's why they got the invitation to. Now, there is a bit of a discussion to be had about whether or not you should maybe have this be an 8-team qualifier instead of a 4-team qualifier. But this is what it is. And at the end of the day, I don't really think it matters all that much. The only way this matters is if for some reason we don't see Renegades. But if Renegades just kind of do what they did in the minor qualifiers and beat everyone, no problems at all, then like, okay, yeah, we can talk about the bracket, we can talk about the seeding and whatever, but does it really matter when there's only one spot available? So, that's my take on it. Gomez, do you have anything you like want to say about the ANZ region right now? Because I'm sure you kind of keep up with it every now and then.
Yeah, surprisingly, I watch a lot of AUCS and Warcraft because of the time zone. It sort of comes on around this time as I'm, getting ready for bed. I usually put it on and just watch a bit. As I've still got heaps of friends, especially in order. Carlo and that's still playing, and Yam coaching Chiefs as well. Like and Rick, like the people I used to play with, like they're playing. So I kind of watch them a bit. I just don't know why they didn't do 6 teams like Pro League everywhere else and like most of the other area ones. Isn't it 6-team groups, and then just take top 4 into a single elim bracket? Like, really, that solves the problem of this. 6, I think, is a sweet spot for AU. The 4 they've got plus Avant and who else missed out? I guess
probably
it's
Rooster or Airborne.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, Airborne. I've never even. No offense to them, but I haven't heard of them or seen them. I've seen Rooster play in all these quals and go relatively deep. And they're not winning, but they're the 6 teams. To me, that's like a really logical number of a tier of teams that I think are above the rest. That ends like just do your 6-team round robin into single limb like NA Pro League, and I think some of these Road to Rios are like Brazil or South America.
I think that would have been better from a viewership perspective as well. Obviously we get more games, but we also get to see that Order and Avant kind of rivalry continue. And then there's the question of, can anyone topple Renegades again? Everyone gets to have another crack. And whole Chiefs thing as well, with Chiefs sort of falling off the ladder a little bit. Are they able to come back? So there would have been a lot of cool storylines. And to be fair, there are kind of still some good storylines with this 4-team bracket. But I definitely think, I agree with you, it could have been 6 teams. I would have liked to have even seen 8, because why not? Speaking of which, the Asian region is 8 teams. And again, the reason for that was because they had 5 or 6 go directly through the minor qualifier. So there was no way they could have done that. But now what they've done in Asia is that they have essentially made 2 groups of 4. And from those 2 groups of 4, the top 2 go through. Then they play a semi-final bracket with a 4-team bracket. So it's a little bit of a different scenario, which they could have just directly ported into the Oceanic region. But I want to go back to you, Pili, because again, we've been talking about this a lot. And now we finally know those 2 teams actually made it through from the qualifier to Road to Rio. Do you know that the 2 groups, by the way, or do I have to read them out?
I'm looking at them and they look absolutely fucked.
So I should probably read them out just for anyone that's actually watching and couldn't be bothered opening up the good feature for themselves. Group A is Beyond, Lucid, Tiger, and Vici, which looks like a fucking strong group as far as I'm concerned.
That's a fucking group of death, bro.
And then there's Group B, which is Camel Riders, D13, Marzalai, and Tyloo, and it's just like, I don't know what happened with the seeding here. It must have happened because of the minor qualifiers somehow, but those groups just look so mismatched.
Look, all I'm saying is I'm wondering, I'm getting a bit suspect if a certain Chinese bloke who's who loves his Tyloo has been involved in making those groups, because we've seen that happen a couple of times where a Chinese team just mysteriously ends up on the other side of the bracket to everyone else and has the fucking easiest run to the grand final you've ever seen in your life, because that's what that looks like to me. Those groups are absolutely fucking ridiculous, and especially because of the fact that Tyloo has just changed 2 players as well. You've got like 4 of the strongest teams in Asia, all in Group A, and then you've got some mixed Mongolian teams who are pretty good and can take maps off of people. Mongolia is a pretty strong region in terms of Asia at the moment. You've got Camel Riders who are going to play on a million ping and probably get absolutely fisted. Even if they could do anything, they're going to have some difficulties in terms of routing and internet probably. And then you got Tyloo who just changed 2 players and are going to be like, sort of adjusting and stuff like that. And Tyloo's a team that, yeah, they're one of the stronger teams in Asia, but from us watching a lot of Asia Pro League and watching a lot of qualifiers, Jordan, correct me if I'm wrong, but Tyloo's not one of those teams who's occasionally can mysteriously stop playing well against some, very misc opponents and have some difficulties from time to time, particularly if their team's going through a bit of a weird patch.
Yeah, 100% agree with you. So, very, very weird groups. Bleh, I almost want to get your opinion on this, but I think you're basically just going to say the same thing as Pili. Do you have anything interesting to say, or should I jump on to what you guys think is actually going to happen?
I only thing I want to touch upon, like what Pili said, like someone must have been fucking high out of his mind coming to those groups. Like, I mean, for fuck's sake, right? I mean, Tyloo, D30 and Maslai, not even the best Mongolian team. Yeah, I know Maslai beat Tiger and then won best of 3, but they're not even the best Mongolian team, right? It's like Zilkenberg and Machine Gun coming out of retirement for like 4 years in the wilderness. And then Camel Riders, who I almost guarantee you they're going to just drop out. They're going to be like, we can't play. It's going to be 400 ping. It's unplayable. It's not even like 120, 130 where you could be like, you know what, you can kind of do it. No, they're not going to play. So Tyloo are going to basically have a free, ticket out of that group. And then, like you said, Group A is literally the who's who of, Asian CS right now. Lucid and Beyond, and you have Tiger and VG. I mean, listen, dog, they could have just given us a call. We could have been like, listen, don't do this. But
not do.
It is what it is, man. It is what it is.
Okay. Gomez, how much do you keep up with Asian CS right now?
I just had a look at the teams then. To be honest, I don't watch any of the games. I see the results and I know the names. Yeah, you're right. I think someone's hired to make these groups. I think it's actually the other way around. Have it like coded into like their thing. Like the winner of this must be, in this group, and the second place Asian team has to be in the other group. And like, I wish they would just use common sense and just like, it may be biased, but at least then you get some reasonable groups. It's happened a few times I've noticed in Pro League. It happened to us in Pro League actually. Last season, one group was us and Furia playing for the last chance spot, and the other group was Envy and Cloud9, and then Cloud9 didn't end up turning up, so it was Envy and Singularity, and the other one to decide who goes to Pro League. Cloud9 were 80k at the time, ended up winning. And it's just like, I wish sometimes they would just not use a system and just use common sense. Because some of these groups, yeah, they're always so weird, and I didn't even realize this was even possible. But when we move away from this, like what? So a team from the Middle East is going to play a Chinese team,
yes,
online CS to decide who makes it to a major. Like, when does the last time this actually happened? Like,
well, you'd be surprised.
Separate
actually,
quals when they went to land.
It literally happened in the minor qualifier where it wasn't a Chinese team. It was like, what? Where were they from? Bleh? I know this a bit better than I. They were from. There was one team from like South America, South Africa, sorry, and one team from like Israel or something.
Yeah.
So
what's the problem? It's like almost the same continent, right? Like I don't see the issue here.
Listen, I've had TOs like a few years back where they're like, oh, we're gonna, when I was working so strong, and they're like, hey, can you do like qualifiers for Asia and Australia? We're like, yeah, sure, we can do it. And they're like, cool. So one spot. I'm like, wait, what? One spot for Australia and the rest of Asia? They're like, yeah, I mean, Australia's pretty close to Singapore, right? I'm like, doesn't work like that. Doesn't work like that. And obviously we've seen all the DreamHack qualifiers that used to happen. Like, at least it's better now because the Aussie team started doing better, so now they have their own spot. But earlier it used to be like, all right, which team has an org and who can fly them down to Malaysia, Singapore to play the fucking qualifiers, right? Or they have to go to Perth, hope that on that day the routing is good to Singapore. It's just the lack of awareness from many of the TOs, and they just like, I don't know, don't consult the local guys, or I don't know why. And honestly, at one point, and I get it. These are regions that, in all likelihood, won't give a really good team in at least the lifetime of CS:GO. And I completely understand why they wouldn't want to, have so many resources for that. But if you're gonna do it, just try and do it right. You don't have to do it right, but try, give it a shot. Don't like club South African teams with Israel and the rest of the Middle East. Doesn't quite work out. So yeah, Camel Riders, you got to feel for them.
How did Australia swindle out of this? Like, you're looking at it as a thing, like it's an Oceanic Asian minor. and yet Australia got pulled out of it.
I think the argument
Make
would
their own
be.
spot, but China didn't.
I think the argument would be that like Australia probably has the strongest team, but like kind of have to give them a good shot in a way, because there's in likelihood,
okay
right?
To fuck over bad teams, but it's not okay to fuck
exactly.
over good.
Like if Renegades gets fucked over, that's going to be a massive like shit fight, right? But if Camel Riders gets fucked over, maybe we talk about it a little bit on the podcast, and 200 or 300 people watch this YouTube video. But like, who really cares at the end of the day? No one. So
there's not even going to be HLTV forum posts about this. No one gives a fuck.
No.
It's unfortunate for them, but no one
You think
does.
if
And they
they were
don't even have an
greyhounds?
oral. Sorry.
Sorry to cut you off, but do you think if they were Greyhounds, this would actually still would have pulled them out?
no,
If they
I
had
still
stayed
think
Oz play in the same qual.
as long as they're like the best team in the region, because theoretically, right, if the minor goes ahead, right, Renegades takes first seed, and then it's either like Tyloo or Vici, depending on who plays well at the minor, right? So you kind of want to say like, okay, of those top two, which would have been the teams that would have gone to the main, how do we sort of break this down into an online situation? And I think the way they've done it is they've gone, okay, well, China probably needs a spot, and ANZ probably needs a spot, so we're going to have the ANZ qualifier be separate. Not to mention the fact that the ANZ qualifier just couldn't work, lumped in with the qualifier as well. So that does alleviate that situation a little bit. It's just, I guess there's no good fix to a bad situation, and this is probably, as bad as it is to say, probably the best fix.
Yeah, you got to
It's
cut
what
a
they could've
corner
done.
somewhere. It's just geographically too fucked.
Geographically challenged, you might say, Pili.
Yeah, exactly. It's geographically challenged. TM, copyrighted, not copyrighted.
Yeah. Anyways, okay, very quickly then, let's just get your thoughts, Pili, on how this is actually going to pan out with now knowing that the two teams that have come through qualifier. Does it make a difference? You know, because you said Vici up toward the top. Do you give anything to Beyond? Do you give anything to Lucid?
Oh fuck, man! Like you could not bet on this group. Like if I was gonna put my house on this group, I would be stressed as fuck. I would probably have a heart attack because like it's so fucked being able to predict who's gonna cut. It's top two from each, right?
No, top one from each.
Top one from each.
Oh,
So
sorry.
they're playing-
No. You're talking about Asia. It's top
Asia.
two from each group, go through to a semi-final bracket, and then it's a
Right.
single elim bracket.
Yes, that's what I thought. So we're still talking about Asia, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So like, oh man, it's just cooked. Like honestly, you could see Vici not. It's one of those situations where these teams can all upset each other to the point where you could see Vici not go through, or something like that. Like you could see one of these Thai teams just upset them or something like that. Again, this is a situation where a team like Tiger is getting fucked over a little bit because if you put Tiger on land against any of those three guys, I reckon you'd have a decent shot, especially against the Thai teams, at beating them. I would actually probably predict Tiger to beat those Thai teams, but online, I don't think Tiger plays nearly as well. And the Thai teams just need to power up. So I feel like Tiger's been hard done by in this situation, especially in that group. And you're seeing like some of the Mongolian guys in the second group. I think that group should be cut and dry. It's going to be Tyloo and one of the Mongolian teams to come through that. At the same time, though, the Mongolian guys, they all play pretty well. Like even those T13 guys can come up with an upset from time to time. So you're basically, a map or a handful of rounds away from some pretty fucked up outcomes for some of these professional players, semi-professional for some of them, if you'd want to say that, at investing a whole lot of time into practicing, and especially with the drought of tournaments for teams in Asia and stuff like that, things to play for, miss out on some opportunities due to a handful of rounds. And that's just the classic old, Asian and Oceanic CS meme. You have a bad day at the office and online CS and all of that, and you can invest a whole lot of time into being a very good Counter-Strike player and get absolutely robbed.
Yeah, either way, I'm still looking forward to watching it because we've been kind of starved a little bit of Asian CS in recent times. There was the DreamHack qualifiers that you casted, Bleh, which I watched a little bit, but this is a pretty big tournament. There's kind of a lot on the line, so should be pretty good viewing regardless. Same for the ANZ region. I think there should be some pretty good games to come out of that one. But let's jump into the 100 Thieves discussion here for you guys, particularly in Road to Rio. Now, you've already started, Gomez, right? So you guys were able to beat EG earlier on today, which is fantastic if you're a fan of Aussie Counter-Strike, which we are. For you guys, like, how's things looking? Like, are you sort of expecting to get through that relatively comfortably, or is this kind of a tough run?
I think this first Road to Rio event, it's 2 groups of 6, top 3 from each. It's literally 3 out of 6 will make it to some sort of playoff position. And our group is us, Genji, EG. They're kind of what I consider the more known teams. And then there's also Cloud9, I guess, are in that group too. And then there's Triumph and Augulus. So I would hope that we can manage at least top 3, and that would give us, into the playoffs. And then we'd place second or third in the other group, or first. First gets the buys. So which in the other group is MIBR, Furia, and Liquid. So yeah, I think we're pretty good. We seem to struggle a little bit lately against Brazilian teams. I think it's a playstyle thing at the moment. But against the other teams, I think we're pretty confident against pretty much everyone. We'll see.
Billy, you had a question here for Gomez, right?
Oh yeah. So I mean, I had a whole lot of questions, but I'd be keeping everyone here for hours, just going through specific questions about CS related stuff. But I think it's interesting. I had a look at the 100 Thieves playing in Road to Rio and also playing in that DreamHack competition. These are the 2 main sort of notable competitions at the moment that you got to be keeping your eye out if you're 100 Thieves. You're playing a lot of the same teams, a hell of a lot. Do you think that that's a good thing or a bad thing, taking into consideration the fact that you've got a pretty strong coach, you've got a pretty good system, and established players who have chemistry? Do you think it helps playing a lot of the same teams over and over again, or do you think if you're playing a team that shouldn't be beating you, that they're going to get a better opportunity to beat you in a team like DreamHack once they play you in Road to Rio or something like that?
I don't really like that we get the same teams. In this case, I don't mind it because they're teams that we kind of are comfortable playing. I'm not necessarily saying it's we're better, or this team's better than the other. Like, it's nothing to do with that. When it comes down to just who you're comfortable playing against, whether or not they're better than you or worse than you, the teams that are in our group, we're happy with that they're in our group and not the other group. With regards to practice, and it's a bit weird because they do Group A on like a Monday, and then Group B on Tuesday, and then Group A on Wednesday, Group B on Thursday. Like, it alternates every second day. So theoretically, you play every second day, therefore you practice every second day. But on your practice days, the other group is being played. So none of those teams are available to play.
Only practice
Available to play other teams in your group. And you don't want to play them because you're literally preparing to play those teams. So NA this week and next week is just ridiculous. There's like literally nobody to play. We're literally fighting over who can play Swole Patrol the most because they're not in it at all. And they're a really good team to practice against. All the Flashpoint teams have gone home. We had that up our sleeve when this happened last time in Pro League. And now, but now it's like they've gone. So it's just who can play Swole Patrol the most, this week. And also, like, we're pretty smart about it. Like, we played Genji and EG already in Pro League. So we're going to practice against them because we can't play them, theoretically until the grand final, like, or unless one finishes first, one finishes third, and then the third place beats the second. Like, it's pretty complicated to actually play EG or Genji in the near future. Unless we make finals, like, unless both of us make deep runs. That's like the only way it's going to happen. So yeah, practicing this format's cool. It's like, you get every second day off, kind of like Swiss. You get heaps of time to prepare. You can do your vetoes, in advance. We'll prepare for a veto in advance, and then practice those specific maps on the day off between your officials. But in reality, it's like, well, who do you practice against? Like, nobody wants to play. That sucks.
Do you have anything to
I don't think
follow
it's thought out much about it like that. In the EU, it wouldn't be a problem because there's so many teams, but in NA, it's a real problem. Just like it would be a problem in AU, I imagine, as well, or Asia, if they did this. It's pretty rough.
Do you have anything to follow up on that, Pili?
I think the only other thing that I was sort of curious about is, you're playing a team like EG fairly early on, like you said, putting aside just practice and talking only about officials. Yeah, for a team like that who's kind of, introducing a new coach and stuff like that, you've beaten them like pretty convincingly on a couple of maps as well. Do you think that it's going to be good, like more good for your confidence now when you go and play them again? Like you said, it's a team you're comfortable playing against, or do you think it's kind of dangerous if you beat them in a game that, like, quote unquote, in a group stage sort of thing isn't going to matter as much, and then, like, especially because it's a best of 3, and then you have to play them in a more important game later on? Do you think that's a bit dangerous, especially, you know, a team that's got a pretty good coach and stuff like that and can make adjustments later on?
No, not really. I think once you're comfortable against the team, it really doesn't matter. There's heaps of teams that we're confident, like really extra confident, even though they might be better than us, you know, at various times. There's heaps of teams that we're really confident against, and there's teams that are worse than us theoretically, but we're not so confident on. And EG just happens to be one of those teams at the moment that we're super confident on. You know, if you went back a month ago, I think we lost 8 in a row against them, leading into Katowice, 8 series in a row, and they would have said the opposite, you know, and we would have said the opposite. We managed to fix it, and now the curse is reversed, as we're joking. And now we've won 3 in a row against them. So I'm sure they would prefer to play Liquid, I would imagine, even though theoretically, like, you'd think you were crazy. I'm sure if you asked them and they were honest about it, I think they actually would prefer to play Liquid than us at the moment. It's just a matchup thing. The way the map pools and the vetoes play out, you know, and it's just a comfort thing, really.
Okay, so we've been hearing a lot from Gomez, and we're going to start hearing a lot more because we're now basically at the end of all of the discussion topics, and we're now into the chat shit segment, which is more or less where we just talk about whatever we feel like talking about. Now, what we've done for this one is Pili's basically given me an entire essay of what we're going to ask Gomez. So we're going to go down the list here, and Bleh, feel free to, like, interject anywhere if you have any questions, or message on Discord, and I'll sort of throw it to you. But this is everything that we're going to throw at Gomez probably for the next half an hour. So get your mouth ready. So first question is, and I'm going to read this quote for quote. Billy, as biased Aussie casters, yeah, I already fucked up because he didn't write casters, but anyway, we're the kind of people that trick ourselves into believing that 100 Thieves is a team with good firepower, and breaking down the individuals on paper, you could argue that case. However, the numbers, especially at LAN tournaments against top teams, often show that 100 Thieves is a team that frags below average, with all 5 players below a 1.1 rating at the moment, and only 1 or 2 of the top 10/15 teams are sort of in the same category, right? They're comparable to only a couple of teams in the top 10 or 15. So, do you think that the system in which the players play in impact on their performance, or like on these metrics or anything like that, or is it rather more so a question of form?
I think it's the system. I haven't done the math recently on HLTV rating 2.0. I think it heavily favors like a 3K over 3 individual kills. And that's what we're aiming for. You know, team-based CS, 5 kills, 5 different people, 5 kills, 4 different people. You know, not one guy getting 3 and then the next guy going ham. I think, like, the numbers, like, tell the story there. Like, 3 different people go ham 3 different rounds and get 3 kills or more, versus if they just get 1 kill each, same amount of kills out of the same amount of rounds, the rating is completely different. So I think it's more to do with a style thing than anything else. I don't think our players. I was actually watching Stanislaw. He did a Blast VOD review of us pretty recently, and he seems to think like we're like super sharp, like individually skilled players playing a team system. And I didn't really think of it like that, but I think I actually agree. I think it's just the style and the system that we're in. People, we're trying to minimize the repeaks. We're trying to minimize what we call bloodlusting, and where you get 2 and you literally just pull your pistol and try and kill the 3rd. Like, we're trying to eliminate stuff like that, and the eco hunting and stuff like that. And they're the things that make your rating, skyrocket.
Yep.
So
yeah, I think it's purely a system thing from my point of view, anyway.
So I think you've kind of almost answered this.
Yeah.
It definitely ties into it. The question was, is there a world where 100 Thieves would like change their playstyle to unlock the potential of the individual? Would that help or hinder the team? And it certainly seems like you guys are a little bit more focused on working as a unit as opposed to enabling an individual. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, for sure. We think it's our best chance of winning the rounds. He can definitely do it. Like, Justin made top 20 this year. playing this system, and we didn't win any trophies at all in 2019. I don't think, or maybe the Star Ladder was that in 2019, 2018. I don't think we won anything in 2019 at all. We had 2 deep runs at majors, but besides that, and a couple of like semifinals, quarterfinals, like he made top 20 without winning anything substantial. And Jacob, I believe, was 21st or 22nd as an entry fragger. So, yeah, I don't think it's anything for us. I'm not going to change our system because of a rating.
Yeah.
Placing's dropped off. We might consider it, but we're pretty happy with the way we're playing, like system wise, anyway.
Good to hear. I'll throw this one then to you, Bleh. I know you have a question.
Yeah. Obviously, with the entire COVID situation and everyone playing online, right? We have been seeing some weird results on in EU and NA as well. And let's be honest, like Pili, Jordan, and I, all the people who are not in a team or haven't been part of a team at least recently, we can all hypothesize as to why this is the case, right? You're playing from home. There's a lack of whatever, etc., 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 yada yada yada. What is it like for you guys? Like you said, you haven't played online in a year, and now coming back here, what stands out where you guys struggle with, or anything you guys notice where you're like, all right, something's not clicking here, and it's primarily because we're playing online. What have you seen different, like as being a part of the team?
For us, I think our issue at the moment is probably intensity. Really hard to get fired up and then sit in a room and I mean, I know majors and stuff like group stage. You may not have a crowd. And you may be staring at a wall just as much, but you're there. You're physically there. You're on a little bus or a shuttle, or you're in a jersey, and you're walking and you see other teams. Like you see the casters. The intensity's there. I'm sure you guys as casters probably feel the same way. Like what's different? Casting a group stage of a major or a decent sized tournament versus casting an online Corona tournament. Nothing's changing for you. Like you're probably still in a room with a headset and a mic, staring at a screen. But I'm sure the tenacity when you're casting like, IEM Sydney group stage, for example, or Star Ladder or something decent, is completely different in intensity to, not. So that's our biggest disadvantage. The advantage we have is that we're all still in LA. We live in the same apartment building, but we're in separate apartments. So we are socially distancing that way. But when it comes to the matches, we have to play from these pods. I don't know if you guys have seen our tour, but we have these streaming pods. There's like 4 or 5 of them. So you can play individually if you wanted to, or we can play it out of the practice room. It's pretty big and we can spread out. But we prefer to do that, even though we're a little bit closer than we probably should be, because people rely on screen watching. Our team's pretty big on, I think, on that. Fist bumping, looking at the guy's screen when you're flashed, looking at the rotations on his screen rather than the mini map as much. I don't think it's a huge thing, but it's definitely there. I know Aaron especially talks about it a lot when he plays solo. Then there's no one on either side of him. He looks to the right, to the left, and there's nobody there. It's just a habit for him to look at people's screens. Especially in the freeze time, clutch situations, things like that. You look at other people's screens. So that's an issue I think a lot of teams would have. Server location, I was going to bring this up about the Asian one. Does anyone know if Tyloo is going to play from Hong Kong or China? Because I know Jack was telling me towards the end they were playing out of Hong Kong rather than China for ping advantage.
They're all in China right now.
Yeah.
So they have to.
But they're going to be playing out of Hong Kong for the other events. Because if you look at the group, like you have the Mongolian guys, and then you have the counter riders. I guess it won't be really a factor here, but if I'm not mistaken, if you're not playing a team from China, it will be in Hong Kong.
Yeah, but you don't know if they'll physically be in Hong Kong themselves?
I don't think they'll physically.
No, not now. Not at this time.
Okay. That's different. When I spoke to them at Katowice, they didn't want to go back into mainland China. They thought they'd get trapped, and they were going to play this call from Hong Kong, so they didn't get restricted in travel. Maybe it's changed now because now everything's online. I'm not sure, but NA is similar. NA, the servers are Dallas. That's your option.
That's it.
That's it. Yeah. You can play Chicago, but there's no East Coast teams. When we were there, we were East Coast. When we were in Renegades, Detroit, and there's a couple other ones. Optic way back in the day, they were Chicago. They were East Coast. and a couple of Canadian, like, teams like that. But now it's like pretty much everyone lives in LA except for Furia, who lives in Miami. So everyone just plays Texas unless you're both LA teams, and then you can play LA. But routing and internet is really bad in America. You're playing these long games on like 60 ping. It's not ideal,
Like playing Asian
I don't think
CS.
people realize.
Maybe
Yeah,
we should
yeah,
start a podcast called Geographically Challenged where we talk about North American CS. Oh.
yeah.
Anyway,
I think
Teams like
Cameron would
Envy
be happy
will
with
over.
60 ping.
Yeah, teams like Envy who live in Dallas will have a massive advantage. They're gonna be on 5 ping, and everyone else will be on 60. I expect them to overperform a little bit, and anyone else that lives in Dallas, I had to do like pick'ems of which players I think would go huge. I'd be picking all the people that live in Texas.
Wait, so Daps would be playing, I guess, at like 120 ping, 100 plus?
Yeah, him and Naf consistently play on like 80 to 90 ping.
Yeah, I think it's similar to like in Oz when we used to have like WA players and stuff like that. I think it's a similar sort of situation where there would be memes about WA players. I mean, I'm from a COD background, so we used to have this meme where if you're playing on 80 ping and you had a scope or something, you could do these ridiculous peaks where you could peek and kill someone before like you saw
Yeah.
them on their screen. I don't know if that's a factor in CS before, but in CS:GO as well, there was even some ridiculous like circumstances where people with 80 ping could do some stupid shit to you online.
Yeah, I think especially on T side, when you're creating the movement, you can get away with so much stuff. CT, you pretty much just have to AWP. There's nothing else you can do.
Yeah, you can't
Just-
hold
you
angles.
can't kill them quick enough. Yeah, you
Yeah.
just have to rely on killing them in one bullet and hoping the delay is enough. Then the AWP shot will actually kill them. That's why you see like double AWP, triple AWP setups all the time on high ping matches. So yeah, I think that sucks for some teams. For us, it's not so bad, like I said, because we're all here. But Liquid EG, they're spread out. They're in literally every different states, all of them. I know. So yeah, a bit of a disadvantage for some of those teams. Advantage for us a little bit. We're really lucky in this facility. We have really, really good routing and internet. It's just because it's a business, like an office has a business fiber, pretty extreme connection. So yeah, we're pretty lucky. I think we have a little bit of an advantage over a lot of other teams. So yeah, it just depends, but we really like the intensity of LAN matches, whether or not there's a crowd or not. Against EG today, we wore jerseys for absolutely no reason. There wasn't even a webcam. We just tried to recreate a LAN match as best we could. And it seemed to work. We played a lot better today than we did the other day, so we can just keep going with that.
pretty cool, actually. I really like that. Like, I rate that. It's kind of like the whole adage of like practice what you preach. It's like do what you want to like emulate in a way, and I think that's really cool. Anyway, I guess that's the situation that we're in right now. That's the world we live in. But we'll continue with some of these questions because that really turned into a big tangent. These coming ones are the ones that are most interesting to me. So I don't know whether we're going to get anything spicy or not here, Gomez. Depends really on how much you want it. But obviously we want to touch on when Gratisfaction and Liazz were picked up for the Oceanic region and or roster. First, we just want to touch on like what's the mentality behind picking up new players. What are you kind of looking for, and not necessarily specifically talking to Grat and Liazz, because we'll talk about that well. But what do you guys sort of think about when you're looking at new players?
Originally, this is going back to early Renegades. We struggled to even get players that we wanted. Just get outbid, or they just didn't want to go to NA, or they didn't want to go to Detroit, part of NA. But we struggled to get players originally. As the results got better, it got easier for us. And then after a while, we kind of just felt that culturally and communication was probably higher on our list than some other things. Other teams went different routes, and got hard hitters, but we kind of went for people we thought would fit in better. We knew we had to live together because we had a team house. So that we really had to prioritize that sort of stuff. And to be honest, I'm not gonna like shy away from it. They were cheaper too. Some of the buyouts, like MIBR, I don't know if you guys have seen that. Like they struggled to get players as well. Like some teams, the buyouts are insane for tier 2 players, and we just couldn't get anybody. From a financial point of view, not that we didn't have the money, just we didn't want to commit that much money to maybe that person. We thought maybe it was a bit overspent. And those guys came in at a more reasonable price. But I think, yeah, like I said, the teamwork and the cultural thing, because we were living together, super high on our list of what we're looking for in people.
Okay, so that sort of ties then into the next question. Obviously, why Gratisfaction and Liazz? You mentioned they were a little bit cheaper. There was probably some cultural advantages as well. But it does seem sort of strange to go for those two, even despite the fact that they might have been considered some of the best players within ANZ, when there was other options, obviously, in North America, within Asia as well. We've heard rumors, of course, that Bntet was considered for that roster as well. So can you shine some light on that?
Yeah, we tried to get Bntet in 2017, February, memory. Yeah, for just before Katowice. And he was available for a while, and then he wasn't. And the amount kind of kept going up, and the terms sort of changed over and over again. And also it was a catch-22. He didn't want to leave Tyloo and maybe not get a US visa. And Renegades were kind of the same. We didn't want to get him, and then he may not get the US visa. He was kind of trapped in no man's land. And I think as the negotiations went on with Tyloo organization, they eventually offered him a better contract, or matched our offer, I guess. I don't really know the specifics. But they basically put an offer on for him at the same time as us, and he just decided to play it safe, as far as I know. He doesn't get upset. He's moved on. We've moved on, so I guess it's not a big deal anymore. I think we're both pretty happy with where we ended up. But yeah, there was a time where we were definitely interested, and then we got Jacob as a stand-in because Bntet was eventually his contract would run out in mid-year. Like, we wouldn't have these obstacles of buyouts and terms and conditions, things like that. And he was free to sign with us for free. That would have given us a window to try and get a visa. He could have been working on that, in this 3-month window that we had. And then we got Jacob, and we played that Katowice with him. That was our first or second event with him. It was super early on in the piece, and he just fit in really well. And he just decided, like, let's just put it on hold. And Bntet decided to stay with Tyloo and re-signed, and we just kept Jacob.
So basically, it would have been Bntet instead of Jacob.
Yep. 2017, early 2017.
See, I think for me, like, obviously being a bit of an Asian fanboy, that almost would have been my wet dream, the Bntet joining a team like 100 Thieves. I've always sort of theorized about a team which combines the firepower of the Asian region and, the brains and the smarts of the ANZ region, right? That just seems like the perfect amalgamation. Is there anyone else, like, you're all laughing at me, but did anyone else ever think, like, that'd be fucking sick?
It would have been.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it
I
would be
want that.
interesting for sure. I don't know if wet dream's the word I would use particularly.
Lucid
usually
dream? I don't know, whatever.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting, but I don't know. I think it gives you a little bit more pride in the region to have an entirely regionalized roster. Have Asia and ANZ. That would be the cool sort of factor around it. But I think watch from someone who's casted a fair bit of Pro League and stuff like that, casted a fair few like Renegades, 100 Thieves games. There was times where on the desk I was saying, like, the best player in Renegades isn't even Aussie. So I mean, it's not a surprise that he was kept.
Yeah, I mean, he just fit in so well, and I mean, we just decided to roll with it. It wasn't going real good with Tyloo at the time, and everyone understood, and we just went with it. We still keep in contact a lot with Bntet over the years, and with tournaments, like, we're still on really good terms. And I see possibility down the line. Like, we'd definitely inquire about trying to get him again. Like, our opinion of him hasn't changed at all. We still think he's really good. We still think he'd fit in pretty well. Became available, and we, for whatever reason, to make a change, then sure, we'd probably consider him again. Sure.
Okay, so again, I want to touch a little bit more on Grat and Liazz, right? Because we've spoken about broadly the reasons, but why specifically those individuals? Was it a case of where you guys were like, okay, well, let's look for someone from the ANZ region, and then you decided on Grat and Liazz, or was it always a case of we're just looking at NA, we're looking at EU, we're looking at wherever, but Grat and Liazz were still like the standouts regardless?
Yeah, we knocked out NA pretty early on in the process. I don't think there was anybody we were really interested in getting or anyone that was interested in playing. Not that I can think of off the top of my head. So it was down to EU or AU. EU hadn't at the time worked that well for us besides Jacob. You guys can remember we had a lot of fails in system with a lot of those EU players.
Yep.
Didn't really work for us. We weren't that confident in trying our luck again. AU wasn't such a big deal, but it was a minor deal that it gave us a little bit of wriggle room with the major spot. If someone got injured or someone quit or someone got bought out, like, there's always a world where Justin could get bought out from Renegades, to join Liquid or EG or NRG or, an EU team or anything like there was always a chance of that. And we kind of wanted maybe 4 players, not necessarily 5, but not 3, maybe 4, wouldn't have been a bad idea to have 4 people from the region for that reason. As it turned out, we really didn't need it because once we got those guys, we made legends both times. But it wasn't such a bad idea to have a 4th person from the region as a backup for that slot. Wasn't, like I said, a big deal. The reason we picked them specifically was for 2 different reasons. Liazz, or Jay, as I'll call him, this is undeniable for us. We would have got him sooner, a lot sooner, but he played the role of JKS in Australia. We felt like we watched a lot of demos. We spoke to his teammates. I actually coached him at a tournament in Oz, some ANZ thing. I was there for a meeting with Pro League, and I coached the Atletico team. They won the tournament, so I knew from then that he is literally just a younger version of Justin in every way, and couldn't see how it would fit having 2 of them on the team. Maybe you do one at each bomb site, then like what do you do on T side? And it wasn't until a lot later that we noticed he sort of flushed out his game after Kings, and when he joined whatever team that was after Kings, Order. When we noticed like his game style was changing a little bit, and he was like doing a little bit of entry, he was doing a little bit of this, a little bit of secondary AWP, a little bit of a few different things we probably hadn't seen from him previously, and we just thought his skill was just too immense to deny. May not have fit role wise at the time, and it still doesn't really fit perfectly, but and he's ended up playing a lot of weird positions and roles. He was just undeniable to at least give him a chance. Like, what more could the guy do? He had like a 1.4 rating or something in AU. I mean, it's AU, but he was just undeniable.
Yeah, but he was like fucking everyone in AU.
That's what I mean. Like, it was literally undeniable. To at least give him a chance. So that's the reason we picked him up. And then Sean, it was like a 2-horse race between him and Sicko. We needed an ult. Nifty was leaving. No one else wanted to do it. Need an ult, need an AWP player. Sicko changed teams recently. I think that was around the time he went from Tainted to
We're going to
Order from Tainted to Greyhound. I don't know. There was something going on there. He was kind of like between teams or jumping teams like fairly recently around that time. And talked to a few different people here and there and landed on Sean. I think we actually offered the contract to both of them at one point, or at least had conversations with both of them to an extent. And we just landed on Sean, like a good fit for us. We went with it. It's nothing against Simon. We get along with it, Simon, pretty well. See him at tournaments all the time with Greyhound, Renegades. And like, I guess it's kind of like a coin flip, but not really. Like, I don't know how to say it in a way. We picked Sean for whatever reason, and be happy with the decision.
So that was actually going to tie into my next question. Was there any other alternatives from the ANZ region? Obviously, it seems like there wasn't really an alternative for Liazz, and the only other one for Grat was Didn't
Yeah, I
really
don't
look at
think there
anyone else.
was at the time. I'm trying to think of which roster moves there was. I think it was an earlier one. There was a few other names on the list. I think for that one specifically, it was as the rifler, not in-game leader. And then it was a 2-horse race for the alt position.
Okay, so this one is a bit of a one that I've just thought of on the spot, and it's
Mm,
kind of a
sure.
little bit of a curveball. But and again, this is going to have so many caveats that maybe it's not a great question. But if you had to like choose one more player out of the ANZ region right now, like again, like it depends. If JKS leaves, you might look for a different person than if say Azza leaves, for example. But
Yeah.
if you had to pick one person, ANZ region, disregarding any of those kind of caveats, is there
So
anyone you'd be
you're
looking at?
forgetting roles completely.
Yeah,
like
kind of.
Our 6-person game, and we have all the roles.
I guess so, right? Like, who's the
Sure.
next up and comer from ANZ in?
I don't really want to put pressure on naming a name, because then if we don't pick that person,
Okay,
or,
maybe pick
or
2 or
he
3
thinks,
then.
you know what I mean? But
It
I don't know,
answers Dexter. It answers Dexter.
I mean, yeah, Dexter's obviously way up there. He's super smart. He frags out. Like, he's pretty insane. I was just gonna actually bring up roster so I don't actually forget anybody. But Inns is another one who's up there. For a fragger, like a smart fragger. We like him. Actually, we like everybody in that team, to be fair. I mean, Malta, Sicko, Hats is as like an entry and a kind of like a selfless sort of player. Definitely him. In order, Alistair. He's a guy I really like watching. I watch a lot of Alistair. I think because he streams more than the others, or if only the others. But I like watching him. He's a cool sort of hybrid sort of player. This guy APOC Dart. I hadn't watched him before this month at all, not a single time. But he's impressed me a bit. He seems pretty decent. So yeah. Then there's the Van guys. Hazard. He's another guy. We watched him a bit around the Asian minor. They boot camped in Europe. Similar time to when we were there. So we kind of knew them a little bit, and he was pretty good. The Blitz guy. I don't want to leave anyone out.
Just,
I thought he was
basically
in-game
everyone-
leader,
just name
but-
everybody
just
from the
name
top 4
everyone.
teams and we'll move on.
Yeah, that Blitz guy. Like, I thought he was the in-game leader. I think he still is, but he seems to frag out as well. He's
I
like
mean,
a smart guy.
yeah, he can do
Smart
a bit of
player.
both. The IGLs and some teams he hasn't been the, but that's given me enough to think about. So I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I'm surprised that you talk about people like APOC Dud. He's obviously still one of the players that's kind of coming through the ranks, as opposed to being in a top team. Like, it's obvious you could look towards the Renegades roster and be like, yeah, we want Dexter, yeah, we want him.
Obviously.
But like, for someone like APOC Dud to even be on your radar, I think is pretty impressive for him. But anyway, maybe that's something we talk about in 2 years' time. Who knows?
Yeah, like I said, I don't want to put any pressure on anybody or think that that's who we're getting. If we ever make a change. But
Yeah.
like I said, I hadn't even heard or really seen him play. I think I'd heard of him because he had the same name as Mike APOC, and then there's APOC Dud. Like, I always thought that was pretty funny. Honestly, I'd never watched any of his matches, but I've been watching a little bit of CS lately because of the time zone, and he seems like a decent player, like from what I've seen.
All right, so I guess we've got a little bit of time left. I'm going to say we can go in and do this discussion that we thought we might cut. But let's talk about, again, we'll go back to 100 Thieves and how you guys tend to play games. And a lot of the time when we're watching, we see these games go like 16-14 or 16-13 or into overtime. It seems like you guys are a team that plays very long, kind of grindy games. And we wanted to touch on whether or not you felt like it's really exhausting for the roster to be playing like this on LAN and multiple matches like this online, or is it not something that necessarily affects you? Because when we're casting games, right, and we see a really, really long game, and I'd go back to maybe something like Chiefs and that 7-0 game, like, is that really as mentally draining and as tiring and whatever as we may make it out to be on the broadcast, or is it kind of just like, we're just playing Counter-Strike?
It is. It's probably worse. It's unbelievable, especially best of threes. If the first one's like that, the second and the third can go anywhere. It's just insane, especially when you factor in the warm-up the teams did before the match. A lot of teams do warm-up scrims, so add another hour there. It can add, multiple hours onto your day, having long, drawn-out matches. Not a big concern. I'm not sure if that was even your question, but the issue for us at the moment is more the slow starts that are annoying us more than anything. Always been down 0-1 in series. It seems to be a trend lately. I've noticed we've been blowing out people a lot lately on the third map, so I think that's a good. I think we did it today. Yeah, we did 16. I think it was like 16-3 today.
Oh,
We
EG,
did it.
you smashed them on 2 maps. Like
16-4.
Yeah.
I think it was 16-4.
Yeah, 16-7,
Yeah.
16-4 or something like that.
We're starting slow, but I think we're finishing really strong in meaningful matches anyway. I think Katowice was a similar story against EG and Mousewatch. I think we finished strong both times there as well on the third map. I'm not sure. Someone probably proved me wrong, but memory, I think we did. I think it's more the issue of the slow starts that are annoying us more than anything.
Yeah, I mean, like the AU meme is that a lot of the teams are sort of slow starters half the time, so it can be difficult to get on top of things. And I think when we're on the broadcast and stuff like that, we sort of categorize teams into what we expect for them. Like we'll see a lot of the Asian teams will be like, if this team does not blow out the other team in the first map, they're probably not going to win. Like once things start to get close and they get deep in their playbook and stuff like that. So do you think it sort of builds the character and mentality of your team to be more resilient and come back from like deficits or difficult circumstances if you go to like I don't know, a couple different situations I'll throw at you, like after a long day of online CS, or say you go to a LAN match or a LAN tournament and everyone's feeling a bit shit, but you're able to sort of bring your sort of like B or C game up to scratch, by playing in that sort of more tactical system and stuff like that to be able to win series. Do you think, playing that like that more regularly is going to be beneficial to building that kind of stuff within the team?
Maybe I haven't really thought of why I think if I had to bet money, I think we'd probably have the highest win percentage of 0-1 to finishing the match with a win down one map. I think we'd in the top 10 at least. 20, I think we'd probably be the highest percentage of any team that starts 0-1 down and manages to win matches. I think it might be to do with the system, because it's more even, in my opinion. Like the workload, more even, but it's not so reliable on one person being hot or cold. Maybe I hadn't really thought of it much, but that's probably my initial thought. I probably need to give you some more thought, but for now, anyway. Stick with that. I'll lock in that because we play team-based Counter-Strike, the load is evenly spread more, and therefore no one burns out as fast as others.
Yep.
Maybe.
And maybe do you think it's a veto thing at all? Some of the time.
Veto
Like
thing is
the other team just picks a map that get a bit. I mean, you guys have a pretty decent map pool as it is, but sometimes the vetoes can be ridiculous with some of these teams. Like a certain team will pick X map and they're just toast on it.
Yeah, the veto thing is weird. I think what people don't realize, especially at the very top tier CS, not sure if this happens in lower tiers, but man, teams have analysts. They have teams of analysts. They have software. They have coaches. People put so much effort into the other team's pick. I think sometimes they put more effort into that than their own pick. Their own pick, they're like, yeah, we're confident. If they're going to pick this, let's work on that. And in our situation, our veto is obvious. We only play 6 maps. We're vetoing, Overpass. It's, I'm not going to lie about it. So we can usually figure out what the other team's going to pick against us because of that. And then we work on that. I think that's why, like today, for an example, we knew 100% it would be Inferno. They would pick maybe a small chance Train, maybe a tiny chance Mirage, but we knew it would be Inferno, and they picked Inferno. We prepared for Inferno.
Yep.
And that's what happened, and everyone's like, oh, ESL, it's a script. I'm sure they did the same thing against us. They knew they were going to ban Vertigo, so we couldn't pick it. And they probably thought we picked us too. We picked it against Gen G. Picked it a few times recently, and we've had some good results in practice against them on us too, pretty obvious for them too, I'd say. They won their pick and we won their pick. For that reason, I would say.
Okay, so
Yeah.
I have one more question that's like kind of on topic, but also crazy, and I haven't brought up. But Bleh, I know you've been a little bit quiet, so if you have any like questions that you want to ask after this, I'm going to give it to you. So either think of something or tell me that you don't want to answer a question after. Why does everyone hate Overpass? Okay, because we've been seeing this a lot in Asia and in ANZ. Like no one seems to be playing Overpass, and I don't watch enough like North American Counter-Strike, for example, to say that that's the same. But obviously, you just mentioned there that you perma veto Overpass. Like, this feels to me like everyone's hating Overpass right now. What's going on?
Not really sure. Like when we did that, we did a video recently on YouTube with about our like history with Vox and Renegades. There's a part in there about Chad, and we banned Overpass even back then with Chad. So I don't think Aaron and Justin have played Overpass consistently in their careers, to be fair. We've tried it a few times. We tried it here and there. And we'll try really, really hard. We'll put 6-7 hours a day into Overpass for a week or two. Only practice Overpass to try and get it up. It just sucks. I don't know if it's just the roles and the positions we have the people in. I don't know if it's like the way the map plays with to do with our style. We just suck on it. We've tried, honestly. We've tried a lot of times, but maps just click. I don't know, like I people want to really understand this, but like our nuke, for example, at the moment, we just moved one position around, and that was swapping Jay and Jacob. They used to play outside, and Jacob played top, and they swapped, and that's like a 2020-ish change or late 2019. And I think that's our highest win rate at the moment is nuke, and that's a map historically we were not good on. It used to be like our actual worst map besides Overpass. So like some maps just click people in there, and you do 2 or 3 practices and you just slam. And then other maps, like we grinded and we grinded and we grinded on Overpass, and we just never made it work. Kassad as a coach never really played it either. And Aaron never played it under Chad. Aaron never played it really under Yam. And therefore Aaron doesn't really know what to call on it as well. The only person that really played it, and in our team, I think it was the permaban of
Greyhound
Order.
played it a hell of a lot, so
Yeah, Order.
Grat played it a shitload probably.
Brad played it, and Jade never played it.
Yeah.
So we had like Jacob had played it a bit, A's and G2 or whatever. And Grat had played it a lot, and that was the knowledge of the map for us. The other 3 had never played it. Coach had never played it. The guys joined, he had never played it. So it was a pretty easy, back to Overpass being the veto. But we did try a few times. If you looked in our history, you'd see it. Patches here and there. Sometimes we even picked it. But no, I just never made it work. Couldn't make it work.
Yeah, I remember Greyhound being pretty good at it back in the day, but I don't know
They
how
still
that.
are.
Yeah, but I don't know how that necessarily translates to like an international competition. So like, Grat's not going to come into it and have all the answers. Beat Astralis on Overpass or something.
Yeah,
Like
especially being the new guy as
Yeah.
well.
one thing to be able to beat like ANZ teams, and to be honest, even they sometimes struggled against Asian teams. So that was like obviously a long time ago. But either way, yeah, it seems like a perfect sort of melting pot for you guys to just bin Overpass. But I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on with the rest of Asia and ANZ.
What sucks for us at the moment is they keep taking away our best maps. When Dust 2 was originally pulled, that was our best map, and they removed it. And then Cobblestone was our best map, and they removed it. And Cash was our best map, and they removed it. And then recently we heard Mirage was going to be the one to go, and that was our best map. And it's just like, stop removing our best map. It really sucks.
I will say I would probably be for bringing Cobble back. I missed that map. Anyway, Blair, I know you sort of almost interjected there. Did you have something to say?
No, I like, yeah, a small little thing on Overpass. It's almost like it's one of the best maps we have, and I feel like the reason most teams don't play it right now, even internationally, right? I feel like it's because almost kind of like everyone's kind of like figured it out, or they're just too worried that everyone knows how to play the map. So I think, despite the fact that it is one of, in my opinion, one of the better, the more tactical maps, it's a really fun map to watch and to play as well. It's kind of like everyone's a little worried about the fact that, you know, it's a map everyone's just comfortable with. So I think, yeah, you do have a few teams who are good on it, but they don't necessarily want to play it. But yeah, the question I actually had was, you just touched upon it. You mentioned the guy himself, Kassad, right, Chris? You've had a few coaches. I remember, like, you know, you obviously had Ryu as a coach for a time during the minors. I remember, I think during the Face It minors, if I'm not mistaken. A few years back, you had PK as well, and then, you know, Kassad came in, stepped out, came back in again. What is it about Kassad which clicks for the team? Because every time he's come in, it's like the team just seems to elevate their level.
He understands CS on another level. To anyone we know, Aaron rivals him. Aaron's always been really good at understanding CS. I think if you got Chad on here, he'd tell you the same. Aaron was always the one that actually solved a lot of our problems when it came to rotations and like getting sandwiched and taking map space and map control. Like these are Aaron's like strongest points as an in-game leader, understanding that sort of tactical placement of players. And Alex just really understands Counter-Strike. And we just needed somebody to bounce ideas off, Aaron specifically. You know, talking about tactics and things that Aaron wasn't that good at when he first came in because he was only new to the in-game leading. So that was probably the reason why we got him originally. He just understands CS. The other guy is PK. PK had a really good work ethic. I even look back on Nick. Nick is one of my close friends outside of CS as well. Has been, you know, kind of drifted away since, but Nick had a really good work ethic. I don't know if you guys have worked with him as a caster or anything, but he had the rankings, you know, like analysis and math that he could do. He had a math degree.
Yeah, I was
like,
gonna say he studied
math
math or something. Like he was genius.
Yeah. He was doing the aerodynamics of fighter pilots and airplanes for the army at one point. You know, like the math calculations on aerodynamics of airplanes, like stuff like that. So like he was really good at that sort of stuff, and then an analytical sort of thing of the CS, which is also my strong point as a manager, like the analytics and spreadsheets and stuff like that. And we needed somebody like Kassad who just understood CS, which is good, or if not better than Aaron at the time, you know. Yeah, that's pretty much why we got a recommendation of him from Peter, the Swedish guy, PITA. He's Swedish. He was good friends with Jonas, our owner, and Peter's also Serbian or Bosnian, Serbian language, and he knew Kassad. So that's how we got him pretty early on. We're lucky because we'd never even spoken to him when we got him. He literally just arrived one day. And yeah, pretty much, and it worked out, you know. So he just understood CS. That's probably the main reason we got him originally, I would say. Why it worked.
All right, I have 2 one-word answer questions. That will be at the end of the show. So I just want to give a quick time for you, Pili or Bleh. If you have anything left, this is the time. Otherwise, we're going to wrap things up.
I think I'm happy with my question.
Yep.
All right, cool. Okay, these are the 2 one-word answers for you, Gomez. You're only allowed to say one word when you answer. The first question is, what is Gomez's favorite kind of ice cream?
Chocolate.
Okay, and how many people has Gomez banned from HLTV?
I want to answer this one longer.
You already have,
Actually,
so
not that
basically,
many.
fuck it, go for it.
I think it's
Go for
legit.
it.
Probably only about 10 people. Maybe.
That's it.
Yeah, honestly, I don't do anything. Just in the chat talking rubbish. Yeah, only if I see something like really bad, like someone posting, like not even racist. Like, if I see like something really bad, I'll delete it and ban them. But like, I don't even know the forum rules, to be honest. I only ban the really bad ones, like the really, really bad ones, like the pornography ones and the pedophile ones and the, you know, the links to mysterious websites. You know, I don't even ban the spammers. I don't ban the rude people.
Well,
People who always abuse me in DMs, like, because I see them online and they think it's me that banned them.
not
Well, I
Jonathan
mean,
Lee.
end of the day, you need someone to visit the website, right? So you can't just go banning everyone.
Yeah, but legit less than probably 20 people. I had to guess.
Well, to be honest, like when you were way active in it on HLTV, it was a more civilized time back then on the site. So,
But I actually, again, and if we're going to trade war stories of Gomez, the HLTV god, I remember back in the day when I first started casting Counter-Strike in Australia, everyone was like, please, Gomez, put our game on HLTV so that we can get some viewers. Because it would be the difference between having like 20 viewers and like 500. So those were the days before like ANZ Counter-Strike was regularly on HLTV. That's how I remember you, Gomez. That'll be pretty much be the end of the episode. Before we do close things off here, Gomez, I want to give you the chance to say any final thoughts and any shout outs you want to do. Here's your opportunity.
I guess really just to the fans. We get a lot of requests and things like, oh, can you play a tournament in Australia? A lot of tournament organizers have reached out. it just doesn't work. It's really, unfortunately, NA, the scene doesn't stop. Cost to fly there and fly back would outweigh the prize pool tenfold. It's not always about the money, but there's also the time and the scheduling. And, you know, we really honestly would love to be there. Like, especially Justin, who just loves Australia so much. You know, we want to be there as much as we can, but it's literally impossible. I worked out with Jim the other day, like where we can play a tournament in Oz. Like, it's like, give me a date in the next 12 months. Couldn't even do that. Like, it's just not possible. So yeah, one for that. Like, we haven't forgotten, or you know, it's not like we don't want to. It's just really, really hard. I get that question like weekly. You know, can you do something in Oz? Can you play? Can you do something? Now with IEM Melbourne, maybe I don't know what's happening there. I don't know any more than you guys, so I don't think I know. But like, you know, who knows what's going to happen? Like, and maybe a while till we're there again. That kind of sucks. So sorry for that, but yeah, I try to watch as much Oz CS as I can now because of the time zone. When we were in Detroit, we were plus 3 hours, so it was impossible. But now it's like not so bad. So trying. You see me in the chat all the time. I always talk shit in Max's chat usually. And in your Warcraft chats even. But yeah, like I'm trying to do as much as I can. Most of us watch, me, Jay, and Aaron especially watch a lot of Oz CS. So yeah, trying. And then as for the last like shout outs, just one to these guys. Let me see if I can do this right. Cash App Compound.
Oh, you
This
got
is
the
the
wrong
coolest place.
side.
Oh, it's this one. This is delay. There we go. Cash App Compound here in LA where we play 100 Thieves. The quarters is really cool. So thanks to those guys, especially as long, obviously with all the other sponsors. But yeah, those guys especially pretty cool, and they gave us a cool building. So cool.
Awesome. Well, it's been great to have you on. You can find Gomez at Gomez CSGO. He's in there underneath. I'm sure he'd love to have a few more. You're almost at 6,000, I noticed, so that's gone pretty well. Bleh, your turn.
Harris, you fucks.
Go. Good enough, Pili.
Oh yeah, I'd echo that sentiment. I'm looking forward to these Road to Rio qualifiers. Like, it's cool to see some of the ones going in Europe and NA, but I'm really, you know, I don't have a whole lot of time sometimes to watch CS. It's a little bit better at the moment, but usually the majority of CS that I get to watch is either if I have a special interest in a team, which is usually like a 100 Thieves game, end of the day, or if it's like a top tier match, like however many stars on HLTV, I'll try and, you know, set aside some time to have a look at it. But the ones that I always look forward to, even though it's not the highest level of CS, is the ones that I'm most invested in, and that's the, you know, Road to Rio, Oz, Oceania portion, and the Road to Rio Asia. So I hope as many people will tune in and watch that as possible. I'll be watching it as well. I'll be keeping my eye on that.
Yeah, you'll be keeping a very close eye on that, and maybe
Yep.
an ear and a mouth as well.
Maybe.
Don't want to spoil anything, but Missy would appreciate for anyone going and throwing a follow to Pili and Bleh. They would, and obviously myself, Elfishguy, you're watching this on my YouTube channel, so would very much appreciate a sub and a like and a comment, and let us know what you think, and let us know what you want to hear as well, because we're going to be continuing to churn out some of the podcasts, the content, whatever. Love to have you stick around and interacting with us. But that is the end of episode 4. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll hope to catch you next time.